just got done watching Operation Fortune, starring the likes of Jason Statham, Aubrey Plaza, Hugh Grant, Bugzy Malone, and Cary Elwes, and even a little bit of Josh Hartnett. And this is about Special Agent Orson Fortune and his team of operators who recruit one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars to help them on an undercover mission when the sale of a deadly new weapon threatens to disrupt the world order. This is directed and written by Guy Ritchie. And for me, Guy Ritchie's kind of been on a nice little stroll with his films lately and kind of just having this great stride of movies. Ever since King Arthur had come out, which I thought got a little bit too much hate, was definitely not one of his best movies. I thought, he came back with Aladdin, and Aladdin was fun for what it was, but I was wanting that, nitty-gritty Guy Ritchie humor, comedy, action, exquisite characters once again. And he comes back with this. And we get The Gentleman, and The Gentleman's just damn right one of his best films. And then we get Wrath of Man a couple years ago, which, again, was a very underrated sleeper hit with Jason Statham. So then I found out he's going to be doing another film with Jason Statham, and it gets delayed. This was supposed to come out last year. Not sure what the delay was for, but everything kind of pointed that this film might not be great because it feels like it's getting dropped in the middle of nowhere, finally coming out this week with barely any marketing. And I'm here to tell you that it's not forgettable, but it is a lot of fun. And if you like Guy Ritchie, it's Guy Ritchie fun. I think if you're wanting Guy Ritchie's version of Mission Impossible, the early Mission Impossibles before it just came about all the stunts, this is kind of your cup of tea, and I genuinely mean that. Because when it comes down to the action, there's some fun action in there. I have some mixed aspects in some of those. And then, of course, you have the characters, which it is the characters that you come to watch a Guy Ritchie film. No matter what film you've ever watched of Guy Ritchie's, it's usually his characters stand out above the best. And I say that not because you get great character development with them, but it's because they're just so much fun to watch, and that Guy Ritchie snappy, snippy dialogue that he just fires through really works. And that's why we're going to be talking about Operation Fortune today. Definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on this film. Are you excited for this one? Are you not? Make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Hit that like and subscribe button as well for more movie-related content on a daily basis. I love talking movies over here. And with that said, let's dive into my pros. With Operation Fortune, let's start talking about the performances because I think Jason Statham just does what Jason Statham does best. Smart, snippy, wit talking that he loves to do. And with the Guy Ritchie dialogue, you know he's going to eat that up. And from when he played kind of a different character within Wrath of Man, which was a character that I actually really did appreciate, this one he kind of revolts back to what he really much is known for, and it's fun to see the least. Aubrey Plaza, never seen her do something like this before. She's been having a great kick of fantastic dramatic work over the last couple of years, specifically within a lot of indie developed films. If you haven't seen Black Bear or Emily the Criminal, I highly recommend them, but this kind of reverts her back to kind of that smart, snippy talking that we've seen in Parks and Rec and so many different other things. But this one kind of has a different flair to it. It's definitely not the more Aubrey Plaza that we've seen where she's all very monotone and feels like she's going to eat your soul. This is actually more charismatic in a way, which was kind of catching me off guard at first, but by the end, I really overall dug it. I dug the humor that she had in here, and I actually think she works really well in a Guy Ritchie film. I will say, though, I don't think everyone's going to love her, but I think by the end, maybe you'll start to like her a little bit more, specifically how I could tell with how my audience was going about it. For me, I'm a giant Aubrey Plaza fan, so I instantly was in love with her. Alongside the rest of the cast and crew, whether it's Bugzy Malone, who has some great one-liners, but he's kind of just the muscle of the crew, kicks some ass. Cary Elwes, I thought, is a great addition to this, kind of like the handler, telling them where they're going to go and kind of making sure that they're doing what they need to do. He's great. Hugh Grant, just always devours each and every one of his scenes, and I loved him in this. He is so damn entertaining, and it's very hard to not just watch him and be like, God, I love Hugh Grant. But for me, the one that I was actually most interested in was Josh Hartnett in here. He plays the movie star that they kind of recruit to help them on their mission, and first off, I know maybe it's just because he was playing a movie star in here, but I know they're doing another Mortal Kombat movie. We're needing a Johnny Cage. Josh Hartnett is Johnny Cage. Just let me go off on a tangent for a second. Would actually be pretty damn perfect. Specifically after seeing this movie, I know maybe it's just closely resembled, but I just kept thinking, I'm like, this guy has that nice wit of playing Johnny Cage. And now, might I say, I would like to see a Guy Ritchie Mortal Kombat film. Weirdly enough. Maybe that's too much. I don't know. Tell me if I'm stupid for that.
Just wrong, you're stupid. Now wait just a minute. And you're ugly, just like your mum.
It's fun, and so is the entire cast and crew here. All their chemistry, everything works on that manner, and I love them as a team. And I will always say that about a Guy Ritchie film, no matter if it's one of his weakest films to one of his best films. He always gets character down so perfectly, and they're always exquisite, eccentric, and a ton of fun no matter what the story is. And that's one of the reasons that I really dig this. Now, one of the things I kind of talked about was that this kind of feels like Guy Ritchie's Mission Impossible, if you're taking it back to that original Mission Impossible. And I kind of put that as a perplex because this is very much a spy thriller. They're going on spy missions. It's globe-trotting. They go to a ton of different locations, and I overall dug that what Guy Ritchie was trying to do. Now, I'm going to leave some of that for my mixed aspects and my cons, so we'll leave that there. But the last thing I do want to talk about is, of course, Guy Ritchie. He just knows how to nail these characters, and the nail lines, and the nail dialogue, and have a bunch of fun with it. With that said, let's get it to my mixed and conned aspects for this film. These are some of the things that I was mixed on. Maybe some people will like a little bit more than me, and some things that I thought could have been a little bit better in the film. So, overall, I like this movie. I think it is fun, but I don't think it's one of Guy Ritchie's best. And I think where that kind of falters into is, one, the pacing of the movie does feel a tad bit too long. About 45 minutes into the movie, I checked my phone and I'm like, oh my god, we still have like an hour and 10 minutes left of this film. It felt like we had just experienced like already an hour and 20 minutes, specifically on where the story had gone up to. Entertaining to that point, but I kind of was just like, really? That there's still more to this? And I did feel like, and I've gotten this in some certain spy thrillers that aren't Mission Impossible, where the globetrotting gets a little bit too big. Specifically, a film that I liked last year, not a lot of people did, but a film that I did like last year, The Gray Man, which did this a ton as well. And I think even Red Notice did it too, where they just drop you into so many different locations, and I don't get the point of that. I really wish some of these missions that you see this team go on, that they kind of focused in a little bit more on the build-up, on the eccentricness of it, and maybe certain things that don't go wrong. It becomes a little bit repetitive by the end, and specifically how these missions are going to be intertwined, and oh, this is going to happen. Oh, of course this is going to go wrong, but then this is going to kick in and make it all work out. It all works, but the way that I can kind of put it is that while I compared it to Mission Impossible, it definitely feels more like Call of Duty for like 2 hours long of just separated missions that all combine towards one big story. That might be your cup of tea, but in a pacing wise, it doesn't mix completely well. The same thing can be said kind of for the characters. Now, I understand Guy Ritchie's characters are usually just fun, fast-talking people. There's not really a lot of development behind them all. That kind of does become a detriment to certain things in here, specifically because of how many characters they introduce. And overall, I kind of wish we would have gotten a little bit more development when it comes down to a Guy Ritchie film, specifically after seeing Wrath of Man and what they did with Jason Statham's character in there. I was quite intrigued with. I don't need the most amount of dialogue or the most amount of background context, but just a little bit would have very helped, because these are very thin, one-dimensional, just fun characters. Might not bother you, but sometimes it did bother me, specifically in some of the stakes and moments that we got in here. Even some of the ways that they use exposition felt a little bit lazy, and I will even go as far to say, when I talk about lazy, this story is pretty lazy as well, where a twist happens and you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. But I think everyone knew that was coming. This entire concept of like, who is this buyer, who is this seller, what is going to be going on here, if you don't guess it, I mean, they introduce a wide range of characters, but the X's and the O's are already circled and crossed out for where you should exactly know who it is. And I think that's my one thing, is that this movie works because of Guy Ritchie as a director and because of the characters that he can create and the contexts that he throws them in. This isn't a deep action spy thriller by any means. It's a fun one. It's one that you can turn your brain off. You can have some good fun with it. Some of the editing for the action scenes could have been a little bit tighter, and I would have liked to see a little bit more snippy editing like we've seen in previous Guy Ritchie films, but I do love how he is able to frame a lot of the camera angles in here. I do like a lot of the sequences in here, and I found all the missions to be fun, but the pacing does drag kind of a bit. I had fun with it. Aubrey Plaza and Josh Hartnett are personally my favorite standouts, and of course Hugh Grant. I definitely think it is worth watching in theaters if you're looking for just a good time this weekend. So with that said, guys, I'm going to give Operation Fortune a B. And I might be saying that wrong. It might be Operation Fortune, but I honestly do not remember how to pronounce his last name. But when I looked it up on Google, it said Fortune, so that is how I'm going to go off of it. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. You guys are really all the best. Hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below your guys' thoughts. We have another Guy Ritchie film coming out next month with Jake Gyllenhaal. Very much looking forward to that. Hopefully it's even better than this one. He continues his good streak of fun, snippy action films. But with that said, guys, thank you so much again. And of course, until next time, stay class.